Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode, this sunrise episode of Jim's 5am Club. For those who know me well, you know where I am. I'm on the International Passenger Terminal platform, and we can see the ferries starting their runs and the sun just breaking through that little cloud on the horizon and giving us a beautiful orange glow to start this wonderful day. So what I want to do today is I want to take you through a book summary, and the book summary is entitled Brainstorm by Daniel J. Siegel. A wonderful and interesting book summary, especially for those who are parents of teenagers or those who are teenagers who have parents. So what can we learn? What can we learn from this book? So this book kicks off with an interesting quote from the author, where he said that we must treat people as if they were what they ought to be, and you will help them become what they are capable of being. This is an important point that the author kicks off with, because what it's basically saying is that if you're a carer, if you're a parent of people who are young, who are growing and developing, then what we need to do is we need to partner with them for their growth and development. And in order to partner with them means that we need to ride their ups and downs, their ins and outs, and to a certain extent be a little bit flexible in how we work together, how we fit together, so that we get the best out of that relationship. Because the author then goes on to say that much of what our adolescence, or much of what happens in our adolescence, shapes and defines our adult lives. So we need to have a healthy adolescent life, one that will enable us to bend and stretch so that we can live the best adult life that we can. And parents, teachers, carers, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts need to understand that teenagers are transforming, and those years are transformative years, and we need to learn about how the teenage brain works and how it develops, so that we can help the teenagers become the best version, the best adult version they can of themselves. Because teenagers and adolescents, we've all been there, we all know what it's like. But the author here reminds us, for those who have forgotten or have chosen to try and forget, that adolescents may act strange, but upon closer inspection, their behaviour is perfectly normal for a person who is a teenager and who is developing, or she is developing, or they are developing. So wild teenagers or wild teenage years is a sign that they are right on track to develop a healthy mentality. So trying to shoehorn a teenager into an adult way of behaviour and thinking is not helping them, because what the author here is telling us is that being wild and being different and making mistakes and being a pain is all a normal part of being a teenager, and is a healthy part and is a healthy road that they're on, which we need to support, to guide, and to protect for them. And the author then says something else which I may not have been aware of as well as what I should have, even though I've had a couple of teenage children. I've been a teenager myself, and I know that I have been a pain over the years to my parents, uncles, aunts, and I think we've all been through some difficult and challenging years. But they say that children develop a healthy emotional distance from their parents. So the reason why adolescents and teenagers create a distance, a barrier with their parents, is that they need to do this in order to grow and develop and to prepare for the fact that they're going to leave home one day, that they're going to jettison and leave home one day. So when you feel as if you're not connecting with your adolescent, your teenage children, you've got to understand that they need this space. They need this space in order to grow and develop. And if you keep on staying on their case and don't give them the room to grow and develop, then they're not going to leave home. They're not going to grow and develop and become independent to a certain extent. I'm not saying to become independent and hating family, but each and every one of us need time away. We need to go to grow. So we need to prepare ourselves for leaving home at some point. Otherwise, you're going to be 40 years of age and still living at home and wondering why your life has turned into a one big great mess. And I guess looking back, I hope that the answer isn't that your parents didn't let you grow up and didn't let you develop the skills, the needs of a teenager. So it's important for us as parents and grandparents, uncles and aunts to understand that our teenage relatives don't hate us. They are just emotionally detaching from us, and they need to do that in order to emotionally attach to the people that they need in their lives at that point in time to assist and facilitate the required growth and development to get them to where they need to be in a decade or so. And sadly, parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts aren't necessarily the right people to take them on that path. So recklessness, and we've all been reckless, and I guess I am still reckless as an adult. People will tell you that I'm reckless, but they say that recklessness has a higher purpose, because recklessness allows us to experience an elevated level of dopamine. This dopamine is basically a painkiller that enables us to prepare emotionally for leaving home or for dealing with the big challenges and problems that we're going to face in our lives. I've lost both of my parents, but everybody's going to lose their parents at some point in time. So we need to prepare for that in some way, and I guess mentally and emotionally we're wired to prepare for that earlier in life than later in life. Even though people are living longer these days, we understand that. But at some point in time, people need to gain their independence, to leave home, to fly the coop, in order to find a wife, a husband, to find a community, to enable them to live their lives. And they have to live their lives. Their role in life isn't to live the life that their parents want them to live, or their uncles and aunts and family and friends. Each person has a calling. Each person has a different past, a different present, and a different future. So each person needs the freedom to take that path, regardless of where it leads. Each of us has to make our own path and our own lives. So, and the reason for this, once again, I've learned something new. The author tells us that our primitive brain, our primitive being, requires us to be as far as possible from our family and our friends at a certain time of our lives, because early human beings needed to be as far as possible from their gene pool in order to ensure the survival of the species. You needed to be away from mum and dad and uncle and aunt and cousins so that you could interbreed with other families to strengthen the gene pool as opposed to narrow the gene pool. So that's another thing that's happening behind the surface at our subconscious level, that we're constantly wanting to get away from our immediate families in order to circulate into other families and other social circles in order to enable us to grow and develop and to have the cross-fertilization of ideas, of genes, of cultural elements, all of those things. So the author then goes on to a second formal point in this book, where he talks about the importance of the development of the brain during youth as being critical for success later in life. Because it's during those childhood years, it's during those adolescent years that our brain goes through its greatest growth and development by generating extra neurons and extra connections, where they're formed and there are things which are deeply ingrained during those formative years. And the other thing that I learned, and I wasn't quite aware of, and this is interesting as well, is that our brain also goes through a pruning process where the neural connections that are no longer used are pruned and removed. So as we say the way the brain works, and in terms of our behaviours, what you don't use, you lose. So the brain needs to go through a pruning process. So the things that you no longer need end up getting pruned and removed from your inventory of skills, which is something to think about. So the last point to come out of this book from this author, and this is a magnificent sunrise. I'm just so happy, so lucky to be here. I got up early, got out of the house, came down to the city. Even though that I'm on holidays, I'll be home by about 9 o'clock to have a coffee ready for Paula, to keep her happy as well. But this way I'm enjoying both my family life and my creative life. So the author then goes on for one more point to say that learning the right way to have reflective conversations with teenagers is the key. So what the author here is telling us, and the call to action, is that when you're talking with a teenager, don't talk to them as a master servant. Don't talk down to them. The key to getting the most out of the relationship with a teenager, according to this author, and once again, I am an emissary. I'm just a messenger, passing on to you what I've received from this book summary. So the author here is saying that we should try and learn how to practice and engage teenagers in a thing called reflective conversations, where we're able to talk to them without a filter. Don't hold back. Don't try and filter what you're saying. Just express it to them as you are a teenager as well. So talk without a filter. Use emotion. Go on tangents. Explore thoughts, dreams, or anything in general. Just talk. Just talk without a purpose, without it leading anywhere, without an agenda. Just chat with them in a reflective way. And as the author says, the trick here is to be open. Help them, which will help them relate better and listen to emotions in what you say. So we need to connect with teenagers on an emotional level, because as we remember, when we were teenagers, being a teenager is all about being emotional, being spontaneous, just talking shit about anything. But the fact is, you need to be engaging and to engage and to keep that engagement happening. Not to get too serious, not to get too bossy, and not to get too controlling. So there you go. I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club from up here on the International Passenger Terminal. I've gone live. I'm getting the confidence now to go live with my 5am clubs, and I'll try and do one live one a day from a special location where I've got a special event like a sunrise or a sunset or something which is just different from normal. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, let's help these teenagers in our lives grow into adults by being a teenager with them, not being too serious, and learning the tricks of the trade, because their wildness, their distance is a survival mechanism that they need in order to allow them to grow, develop, and leave the family home in order to start their family home. So it's important for them to be connected, but not to be too connected, not to be too comfortable with being within the family environment, because at the end of the day, we want to push them to meet people, to experience other social circles, to learn the world through their own eyes, and not just to take our culture, our opinion as being gospel, but for them to be able to go out and compare and contrast, and hopefully one day come back and say, well, this is the way that I want to live my life, and this is the culture that I want to springboard off. So I'll leave it there. So hopefully we'll all have a great day. May we all be the wind beneath our wings, and enable each other to get through the challenges that we all face, and to live, learn, and pass it on. And most importantly, live, learn, and pass it on to the ones who are coming through, the next generation, the next generations, and for them to see us as partners in their development as opposed to pains in their ass. Take care. If you like ya, daleme. Bye for now. And thank you for those who support my Jim's 5am Club. I've got 20 more to go, actually 19 more to go to reach my 1,000 in English, and I've got 2 more days to do it. So as you can see, I'm going to be busy, but I'm going to be happily busy throughout the day, or at least the next few days. Yasas, take care, and bye for now.